All right, Robbie Falk here on the back porch. If you see smoke coming through, it's not cigarettes or weed or anything. It's the grill. So just keep that in mind. We're about to grill some pork chops out here, having a nice afternoon in Choctaw County. Just got done with Mississippi State and Auburn. Final score, Auburn 27, Mississippi State 13, was just another bad game for Mississippi State. They had a bad one last week, but they won that one. This game, they were bad on the offense and defense. And I thought special teams was okay. Hit a couple of field goals. Punting was better this week, but defense was pretty bad against one of the worst offenses in the league. Offense was pretty bad. It's been worse, but it wasn't great. You scored 13 points against an Auburn team that I think is just okay on the defensive side of the ball. There were opportunities there for more points. I just think the offense right now is just real unsure of itself. There's not really a true identity for the offense. Mike Wright, late in the ball game, kind of slinging it around the field. I thought there were some good things from Mike in this game. 16 to 32, 161 yards with a touchdown. Threw a bad interception on a drive that I thought was real promising for him. But again, play calling wasn't great at times in this game. 14 carries for 63 yards, another solid day running the football. State, when it had design runs, was really good. Seth Davis and Jeffrey Pittman combined to rush for, I think, 113 yards on 17 carries with Jaquavius Marks out. I mean, that was a really good day from your two running backs. You averaged 5 yards a rush as a team. At receiver, 9 catches for 112 yards. Xavion Thomas had his best game of his career, his first 100-yard game, I think, for him, and had a touchdown, but nobody else got involved. 3 catches for 18 yards for Tulu Griffin, 2 for 3 for Jeffrey Pittman, and Tony Harmon had a 21-yard catch. Didn't have any receptions for Justin Robinson. So, just couldn't get anybody else involved in the passing game. And then on the defensive side, State was just terrible in the first half. The first 3 possessions, I think Auburn scored, the first 2 possessions, I guess, Auburn scored touchdowns. And then really the game, to me, really went in a different direction late in the half. The first half, State has the ball driving down the field. You have an opportunity with solid field position to go score points before the half. And it would have been a totally different ball game if you're able to do that. And instead, you have a 4th down that was completely read wrong by Mike Wright. Had an opportunity, if you hand the ball off right there on the zone read, to get the first down probably with, I think Jeffrey Pittman might have been the running back there. Instead, he keeps the ball, falls down short of the sticks. Auburn gets the ball back with about a minute and a half left, drives right down the field and scores a touchdown. And you go from the opportunity of being, let's say at worst, State kicks a field goal in that drive. You go from being down 17-6 or whatever it was at the half to being down 24-3. And at that point, you don't have the offense that you feel good about making up that kind of ground, and your defense was not good in the first half. You made Auburn's quarterback, Peyton Thorne, look like, one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and he's been really bad this year. He had 100 yards passing last week against Ole Miss. Didn't look good at all. This offense looked terrible against Ole Miss and has been the worst passing offense in the league this year. They threw for 230, 77% completion percentage. State continues to be just awful at defending the pass. 20 for 26, 230, 3 touchdowns. And then Jarquez Hunter ran for 144 yards on 17 carries. The defensive execution was bad. Play calling was bad. This team's not well coached. The scheme's been bad. The execution's been bad from the players. There's just not much that this team does well right now. They had the one game the other day that I thought the defense was good, but that was kind of the anomaly. The defense has been what it was on Saturday. That's how they've been all year. And then offense today, 2 for 12 on 3rd down. Does this team look a lot differently with Will Rogers? I think so on offense, but you still give up 27. It's just like the South Carolina game. It's hard to expect your team to win on the road in the SEC whenever you give up basically 4 touchdowns. And that's what State did. And the field goals make it more than it was. But they gave up 3 touchdowns. But you give up 27. It's hard to win road games in the SEC when you're doing that. So State falls to 4-4 on the year, 1-4 at SEC play. I mean, again, 6 wins is attainable for this team, but to me, the danger that you're facing now if you're Mississippi State is this apathy that is about to set in. Going 6-6 this year is not going to excite anybody because you've likely beaten Kentucky and Southern Miss to get there, and that means you lose to Ole Miss and you're going to a bowl game. And then you start talking about the roster next year, and this roster could be an absolute disaster if things don't change. You're losing a ton of 5th and 6th year seniors, which are the guys right now that, are the leaders of the team. So you're losing all those guys. Your offense has looked bad for most of the year. Your defense has looked awful for most of the year. And, it's just the recruiting class, what you got coming back, it's just nothing to get excited about. And that's where you're kind of falling in right now for Mississippi State. Had you won today, had you shown some promise today and won the ball game and moved to 5-3 on the season, and you're one game closer to bowl eligibility, and you go win next week, then you can start rallying the troops a little bit behind Zach Arnett. Right now, I mean, Arnett looks dejected on the sidelines. He looks emotionless. You're not seeing that fiery defensive coordinator that you saw from him the last 3 years. You're seeing a coach that looks, it just doesn't look like he's really into the ball game. And that, to me, is a big problem for Mississippi State. It looks like your coaching staff is, kind of going through the motions out there. The players are going through the motions. And then you have a recruiting class that's steadily falling behind everybody else in the league. I'm really concerned about Mississippi State's future right now. There's no redeeming qualities right now with this team. Offense looks bad, defense looks bad, and the coaching staff just doesn't look like they're really in the ball game, like I said. Now, I'm not behind the scenes. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what they're saying. But the body language is not great. Having a coach with his arms folded and kind of, twiddling his thumbs, that's just not good for a team that's trying to find some energy. And Mississippi State needs Zach Arnett to provide some energy. They need Zach Arnett to be what he was as a defensive coordinator. He's got to interject himself into the ball game more. Because right now what it looks like is the team just doesn't have a ton of motivation behind them. I mean, you come out in the ball game and you look bad on the first 2 drives all defensively, and you just don't look like you're in the game. There's not a lot of pressure coming from the defense, not a lot of excitement on that side of the ball. I mean, you start doing that stuff, you start losing ball games, you start losing the fan base. And that is the lifeblood of your program. Those are the people that are putting in money into this program and providing NIL opportunities for players. You don't have that, and your program in this landscape is going to go down the drain pretty quick. Those are some harsh realities, but that's where Mississippi State is right now. They are at a point where it's just moving towards apathy. Even when they won, the last 2 games they've won, they haven't been very exciting. I mean, take it back, I guess the last 3 games. If you go back to the Arizona game, those games have not been a whole lot of, there hadn't been a whole lot of excitement coming out of those ball games. You beat Arkansas 7-3, give up 28 points to Western Michigan. You struggled for 3 quarters against Arizona after getting off to a hot start. So this team is just, right now, it's kind of a scary place to be in for Mississippi State. And this is going to be one of those deals where, like I've said for weeks, Zach Selman's going to have to address some of these concerns, or Mississippi State is going to dig themselves in a hole. You're playing in the greatest conference in college football. It's going to get even more competitive now with conference realignment. You're bringing in Texas and Oklahoma. You're going to start falling further and further back from the pack. And right now, Mississippi State's not an exciting brand. It's it's not an exciting offense or defense. It's just there's a lot of problems with this team. And I didn't think they looked well coached on Saturday. 8 penalties for 70 yards. There was a lot of those mistakes. 2 for 12 on 3rd downs is terrible. They were 2 for 4 on 4th, and they scored on 3 or 4 red zone attempts, but I think only one of those was a touchdown. So, and Zach Arnett's even admitted that, that touchdowns are the only things that should be talked about when you're talking about red zone scoring. So, It's just, this is not a good Auburn team. And it never really felt like State was in this ball game. So that's a concern. Mississippi State taking on Kentucky next week, homecoming. It's a shame that, the team is 4-4 coming in that ball game, and you got those interlocking uniforms coming back, because I just don't think there's going to be a ton of excitement around that game, to be honest with you. My read on the fan base right now is just apathy setting in, and that's a very dangerous place to be. That is not where you want to be. State was kind of there with Joe Moorhead, and that's what it feels like. It feels like they're there with Zach Arnett as well. So we'll see what happens. But State's got to win some games. Zach Arnett's got to win some games. And it's like, this is, the sense of urgency has got to be there for Mississippi State. Even last week when you win the game, that's not something to just celebrate and, you're good from there. There's got to be a sense of urgency with Mississippi State. It just doesn't feel like it's there. They've got to win games. They're competing against Ole Miss in State. They're getting destroyed in recruiting right now. And you got Ole Miss in the back half of the schedule, who looks really good. And that game's looking like it could be a runaway at this point. And that, it's too early to say that. That's always a rivalry game. You never know. But, I don't like State matching up in that game. So, the success they're having there is only going to grow that sense of urgency with this fan base. And we'll see if Mississippi State follows suit on the football field. So far we've just not seen it. We saw it last week with the defense, but that was just a flash in the pan. It looks like, because the median, I guess, has been the Mississippi State's defense has been bad, and Mississippi State's offense has not been good either, especially without Will Rogers. So they'll regroup, try to get back to work next week. They're taking on Kentucky at home, 6:30 p.m. kickoff. Would have been a lot of excitement around that game had State won today. I don't anticipate that happening next week now. So we'll kind of monitor that throughout the week. But more coverage coming to you. Obviously, I'm not at the game, but we got plenty of guys that are covering the game for you, so you can get their thoughts on the game and thoughts from Zach Arnett and some of the players too. Post-game, that should be coming your way over there on 247 Sports. So make sure you check that out. If you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do so if you want to. I'm not going to force you to do that, but I would appreciate it for sure. Tune in to Thunder and Lightning. We'll have our podcast coming up on Sunday evening. You should be getting that on your podcast feed. So looking forward to talking to Brian about the game and getting his thoughts as well. Don't forget, he predicted State to win this game by 10. So please give him a hard time on that. I predicted State to lose. I was correct. I just want that to be known. Brian was wrong. I was correct on that. So, all right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning into this. We'll be back for Talking Dogs on Monday with a live chat there on YouTube. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Catch you down the road.